This is an Orkney mooring. It is quite beautiful, isn't it? Okay, here's a local tip should you ever come to Longhope. This corner here is for yachties, and there's power. They've always got electricity in there apparently. So we could hide here. If the weather turns horrible, we could come here and hide. What to do? There's a shower here which is 20 pence. 20 pence.
After our 20 pence showers and a drink in the excellent pub, we went for a walk along the beach to appreciate the flowers and the birds. We headed up one of the die-straight military roads that criss-cross the formerly occupied islands, looking for some of the abandoned naval buildings that pockmark the landscape. Along the way we were, as usual, attacked by terns. Nothing new there. And we also took pictures of what is easily the prettiest heifer in Orkney. No, not that one. Second left. Isn't she a lovely thing? We had a look in an old wireless ops station and a former fuel store. Some blokes, mostly unmarried apparently, spend their whole holidays poking around old military buildings.
I'm always amazed at the relationship between war and flowers. Just flowers. Wherever you get soldiers who go somewhere to serve the country, flowers go with them.
And that's one of the other things about Orkney. The flowers are magnificent, both wild and cultivated. They love the long summer days and absence of insects. Probably a bit dreich in the winter though, I should think.
Slightly odd. Sorry, crab.
Will you go to sleep again, please? Okay, there he is.
Giant spider.
I'm not going to watch. Coffee in the way. Is that enough?
Yeah. Yum yum.
just come out of Longhope and into, looks like Contick's Channel, and then we're going to go up Gutter Sound between Hoy and Farah. Flotter's over here, so there's a bit of a stream. I thought the tide would be going that way, but in fact it's coming this way at the moment. Not very strong.
There's lots of breeze, so
The tide really runs fast around here. It zooms between Flotter and Farah, and you can see it on Google Earth as a plume of disturbed water bursting out into the relative calm of Scapa flow. It's no mean beast where we were sailing between Farah and Hoy either. All along this sound on both sides you can see the detritus left behind by the military. Lyonesse was the main centre of operations for Scapa Flow. It was a town in its own right with 12,000 residents, plus all the blokes on the ships when the fleet was in. Then the military population of Orkney might be as high as 40,000 men.
just imagine living in one of these houses here. Here, and you go from nobody living around you to having a town of 35,000 people on your doorstep, and then they disappear again 4 years later.
The military did their level best to keep the men happy with cinemas and bars all over the place. American visiting sailors expressed surprise at the amount of drinking going on. Lyonesse was a major port with all the supplies of food, ammo and fuel coming in here. At one time these jetties would have been a hive of activity. It was here that they built the submarine nets on these massive concrete pads. But I think it fair to say that Scapa was not the happiest place to be. This poem, penned by a serviceman based here for what he thought was way too long, sums up their feelings about the place. This bloody town's a bloody cuss, no bloody trains, no bloody bus, and no one cares for bloody us, bloody Orkney. The bloody roads are bloody bad, the bloody folk are bloody mad. They make this place bloody sad, bloody Orkney. Oh bloody crows, oh bloody rain, no bloody curbs, no bloody drains. The council's got no bloody brains, bloody Orkney. Everything's so bloody dear, a bob for just a bloody beer, and is it good, no bloody fear, bloody Orkney. The bloody films are bloody old, the bloody seats are bloody sold, you can't get in for bloody gold, bloody Orkney. The bloody dances make you smile, the bloody band is bloody vile, it only cramps your bloody style, bloody Orkney. No bloody sport, no bloody games, no bloody fun, the bloody dames won't even give you their bloody names, bloody Orkney. This bloody place is bloody bad, with bloody blanket over your head, be better when you're bloody dead, bloody Orkney. They did draft in some wrens who brightened up the place considerably, but not that many of them, although one bloke said that there were enough to go round, provided they went round fast enough. Between Farah and Hoy, the wind had died, but the current just swept us along.
For the first time since we came up to Orkney, there's not enough wind, which is brilliant. There's little patches of wind here and there are the tides to play with, and it means that it's not that cold. But there are little zephyrs of wind I can chase across these. You can see them on the water.
There are 3 other stories from here that are well worth spending an evening on the web chasing up. Or even, heaven forfend, buying a book about them. At the end of the First World War, the German Navy, which had spent most of the conflict cowering in the Baltic, surrendered. It was parked up in the main part of Scapa Flow. 74 vessels, must have been a fine sight. The ships had a skeleton crew of Germans on board, initially 20,000 men, then down to a mere 5,000. The food sent out from Germany was horrible. The men were pissed off, bored, cold and hungry. The winter of 1918 was particularly tough on them. Conditions became squalid and most orders were roundly ignored. The German head honcho, Admiral Ludwig von Reuter, was worried that all his lovely German technology and capital equipment was going to be divvied up among the ever-squabbling victorious Allies. So he organised his blokes to go around the ships welding all the doors and hatches open. At 11:20 on June the 21st, he sent out the message to his men to scuttle the fleet, so they went around opening all the portholes, hatches and through-holes. It was an hour before the Brits realised something was up, and to be fair, they did manage to save 20 vessels from going down, but the rest sank. 54 of them. Bit of a problem for the Brits, but in 1923 a scrap metal dealer called Ernest Cox bought 25 sunken German destroyers for £250 the lot and started salvaging them, using an old German floating dock he had bought. Once those were dealt with, he turned his attention to the bigger ships. Divers went down, blocked up the holes, and the ships were filled with compressed air, and they floated to the surface. He was so pleased with the process that one day he had organised for the press to come and see it done. His men accidentally brought one up before the press got there, so Ernest had it sunk again so that he could show it magically appearing out of the flow. In the end, they salvaged all but 7 of the ships, and these have now become the favoured playground of bubbling rubber-clad aqualung tourists who spend their holidays happily poking and bobbing around the old wrecks. And nothing wrong with that. The third story worth chasing through the web, which I've been doing since I made the last films, gets more and more remarkable the deeper you dig. So, no apologies for a bit more information about Gunther Prine. 14th of October 1939, right at the beginning of the Second World War, when U-Boat 47, commanded by ardent Nazi ideologue, extremely brave man and navigational genius Gunther Prine, brought his submarine in here. Slipping past the submerged guard ships in Kirk Sound between Lambsholm, remember where the chapel is, and the main island. He made one run at the Royal Oak and fired off 4 torpedoes. Only one hit home. He then started to Scapa, but realised that the British watchkeepers in these posts all around the Scapa flow were so lax that he still hadn't been rumbled. So 15 minutes later he had turned around and had a second crack at the Royal Oak. This time he had much better luck. 3 out of 3 torpedoes hit home, and then he sneaked out the way he had come in. 800 crew members of the Royal Oak were drowned. Gunther became a war hero on a magnificent scale. He was a real poster boy for the Hitler regime and was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves. A very fine trinket indeed, and one to gladden the heart of any military-minded Nazi. His adventures became the subject of books and board games, and being a submariner suddenly became even more glamorous than getting behind the joystick of a Messerschmitt. His submarine career and personal glory lasted 2 years, with 238 days at sea, during which time he sank 30 vessels, mostly unarmed merchantmen, with a total weight of 200,000 tons. He did a lot of damage to the British war effort. His submarine, though, was eventually sent to the bottom in March 1941 by a depth charge from HMS Wolverine. Well worth poking around on Wiki and beyond to find out more about this amazing exploit.
Salty chicken.
No point in you eating it.
By now, Harmony had been at sea for 3 months and was getting a bit weedy, so we headed off for a nice sandy beach just on the Hoy side of Grahamsay.
We're putting her aground for a bit of a scrub. Assuming the tide goes out far enough. I've left it a bit late, I have to say, however. That's it.
And yes, the water was nut-crunchingly cold. Once the tide had started rising again, we nipped around the back of Grahamsay. The echo sounder said the bottom was 4 metres away, but there, swirling up to the surface, was acre after acre of kelp. I'm a very shallow sailor, but I was worried that at any moment we might clonk a rock. And then we nipped across the ever-strengthening race, coming in through the Sound of Hoy and into Stromness, which is a truly lovely little town of just over 2,000 inhabitants, who mostly live along the stupidly long high street. The town has always had good connections with the Hudson's Bay Company, and at one time 2/3 of the staff were Orcadians. They could handle the tough Canadian climate better than your average Brit, apparently. The name Stromness means promontory sticking out into a fast tidal stream. Very literal with their names, these Nordic people. Stromness is clearly an extremely windy place, and I began to notice how the locals use rocks to hold almost everything down, even the buildings. Just how strong does the wind have to be to blow a sight hut over, though?
Our boat neighbours this morning gave us a crab, and then they said they were going today, so they gave us potatoes, ginger, lime, what else?
Black pudding.
Black pudding.
Oh dear, falling apart.
Black pudding does fall apart.
You're not eating all that.
No.
We want some
3
cold for
bits.
tomorrow.
Yeah. And we're going to have some mayonnaise with it. So, bit of a feast.
The next morning we left at first light, which started to appear soon after 2 a.m. Jill decided to stay in bed.
There's a bit of a breeze. We should catch the tide blowing us out of here. See the lights flashing ahead of me. You can see Stromness lights. You can hear the roar and the ferry. They leave the generators going all night. No idea why. See that the dawn has started to arrive.
experienced one of those astonishing Orkney sunrises while Swinbo dozed sweetly below.
Well, the sun came out, wind died. Tomorrow they're talking about a southerly or gusts of 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. So we're going to hole up in Pierrot Wall for tomorrow, and then we'll go to Shetland Thursday, Friday, assuming the weather does what it says it's going to do. Can't complain about the beauty of the sunshine though.
The plan was to go straight to Westray, but about mid-morning it clouded over and the rain started hammering down on us. So I put the camera away, fired up the engine and stood under the spray hood while the tiller pilot took us safely back to Kirkwall.